Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the April 16th, 2024 Hamilton Township Council meeting to order. This meeting is being held with the benefit of public notice as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Papero?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Here.
Mr. Whalen?
Here.
Mr. Carabelli?
Here.
Mr. Ty is absent.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's please rise for the salute to the flag and please remain standing for the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, our world is torn with war and violence. Pray that you provide this world with a peace that is only found in you. We pray also for those who are suffering from the results of this war and violence. May you provide them both physical and mental healing. As always, continue to bless our country and our township, and may we as government representatives take on the best interests of our community. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
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 So before we get into the agenda this evening, I just want to bring to the table that there is an update to the agenda that is different from the agenda that was posted on our website. Addition number one is communication. This would be communication 2, I'm assuming, Madam Clerk?
It's communication 1.
Oh, it is communication 1. We're just, okay.
We only have 1.
Okay. This is a receipt of documentation to amend alcohol beverage control license 1103-33-010 Ronnie Hospitality LLC to add the trade name of Ronnie Restaurant Lounge and Bar and also to activate said license. And then there's amending language of resolutions CA10, which is 24-173. This is a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application, acceptance of a grant award, and the execution of a grant agreement with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for the purchase of one electric vehicle and the purchase and installation of an electric charging station and electric infrastructure, and rescinding resolution number 24-109. Grant identifier DC 24-031, grant award amount $117,000. And then there's CA18, which is 24-181. This is a resolution to authorize the Historical Society of Hamilton Township to apply jointly with the Township of Hamilton for a $170,000 Preserve New Jersey Historic Preservation Fund Capital Level 1 grant from the New Jersey Historic Trust with a match of $54,868 from the Township of Hamilton to be used for improvements to the historic Isaac Pearson House. Can I please have a motion on the amendment to the agenda?
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Papero?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
4-0.
Okay, that brings us to discussion. Can I have a motion to recess us as the Township Council and convene us as the Board of Health?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Papero?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
4-0.
2 days in a row, Director Fitzgerald.
Good evening,
How are you doing,
all.
Kathy?
Great, thank you for having
Good,
us. It's
good.
with great pleasure and pride that we come before you this evening to present to you our report to our Board of Health. The Hamilton Township Division of Health is dedicated to the maintaining of health and well-being of our residents and visitors by means of prevention, health promotion, and education. To keep up to date on the accomplishments of the Division of Health, we invite members of the board, as well as our residents, to take a moment to visit our township website and read the Division of Health's annual report. Our health officer has provided you each with a hard copy this evening. In addition, our Animal Shelter and Adoption Center posts monthly updates and statistics on our shelter webpage for your review. This evening, we will provide you on an update on public health goals and objectives, progress on our journey towards national accreditation, and more detailed information on our environmental section, as well as the accomplishments of the department. Most recently, we have been awarded the New Jersey Healthy Care Quality Institute and the New Jersey League of Municipalities the Healthy Town Gold Level designation for the second year in a row, which basically tells our residents that we go above and beyond in trying to make sure that all of their health cares are met. So we're very proud of that. Our health department staff continues to provide state-mandated services, and our animal shelter staff continues to provide the best quality of care to the animals in our shelter. And again, I know I say this, but I am proud to say without a doubt that our health department is truly one of the best. We have proven repeatedly, especially during the last years during the pandemic, of our commitment in providing the 10 essential public health services, including protecting and promoting the health of all of our residents. Our health department staff are true leaders in their areas of expertise, and we can be confident that they will continue to protect and promote the health of all people in our community. I met with them this afternoon again. We went through some of our accreditation journey, and I am always amazed at the professionalism and the accomplishments that they each contribute towards that. So I think that we have great things to look forward to in the future as well. At this time, I'm going to present our health officer, Chris, to give you his update. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Good evening, Board of Health members and residents. Under the direction of Director Fitzgerald, the Division of Health continues to promote healthful behaviors to protect the well-being of all those who live, work, and play in Hamilton, in accordance with the public health practice standards of performance for local boards of health. This includes our animal shelter, where our #1 priority remains the care and safety of the animals at the shelter. I'm happy to report to the board the division continues to meet its ongoing public health obligations. Tonight, I'm pleased to present and answer any questions regarding the division's 2023 annual report. We have continued to see a rebound and in many cases an increase in the services provided following the pandemic. Some examples of those are, we've seen an 18% increase in the number of patients seen in our child health clinic, a 19% increase in the number of patients seen in our STD clinics, a 10% increase in the total number of childhood immunizations administered, 14% increase in the total number of free rabies vaccines administered, a 7% increase in dog licenses issued, and an 11% increase in the number of volunteer hours at the shelter. On the flip side of that, we have seen a reduction in marriage licenses, where we saw 11% reduction of marriage licenses issued, a 19% reduction in the number of flu vaccines administered, and an 8% reduction in the number of dogs that have been adopted. These figures are not surprising and are in line with what our sister agencies are also seeing, both here in New Jersey and across the country. As we look ahead to 2024, the division will continue to direct its resources towards accreditation. Our deadline for document submission is October 25th, 2024, and the division's internal working groups and staff continue to meet on a regular basis to ensure that we meet this deadline. An additional goal for the year is to make sure Hamilton is recognized as a healthy town, just like Director Fitzgerald had mentioned, for Mayor's Wellness Campaign for a third year in a row. Hamilton was awarded this gold level distinction in 2022 and in 2023 by the New Jersey Healthcare Quality Institute. I encourage all residents to take advantage of our free wellness programs. This includes our monthly wellness walks. The next one is actually this Monday, April 22nd at 12 p.m. at Vets Park South entrance. It will be a mile walk, and I actually am hoping that we are done with our vet appointment that day, so I will bring my dogs with us on the walk, and I'm sure you will enjoy it very, very much. Our Mayor's Wellness Campaign also recently sponsored community CPR classes for Township employees and all of our sports leagues in partnership with Penn Medicine Princeton. More programmatic information can be found on the Township's website, hamiltonnj.com/MWC for Mayor's Wellness Campaign. The division has also continued to roll out and tweak our online request systems. Requests for service/complaints can be placed through the Township's C-Click Fix module. This allows residents to submit requests at their own convenience and follow along on the progress as it's being addressed. Requests for certified copies of vital records, dog licenses, retail food licenses, and mobile food licenses can all now be processed and paid for online through our GovPilot modules. Our latest addition is the ability for residents to make secure monetary donations online through our web portal. The funds that we receive through donations are used to offset the cost of expensive veterinary procedures for animals in the shelter's care. Tonight, I have with me the division's chief REHS, or Registered Environmental Health Specialist, who is the supervisor of the Environmental Health Section, Lisa Surtees, and one of our inspectors, Eric Cooperwich. Mr. Cooperwich also, as an FYI, holds his health officer's license and acts as the relief health officer whenever I'm out of state or unavailable. Just as a reminder for the board, state statute requires 24/7 health officer coverage. So whenever I'm on vacation, I do have to notify the state health department of my absence, and Eric thankfully fills in. Ms. Surtees and Mr. Cooperich will provide the board and residents with an overview of the environmental health section's duties and a deeper dive into our childhood-led program.
Thank you, Chris. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Good evening, everyone. As you probably know, a lot of people think that the only thing that inspectors do are retail food inspections. There's many other things that we do in the department that are probably not what everybody would think. So along with all of our retail food inspections, which we have upped the game on, so to say, our schools and our risk levels 3 and 4 are now being inspected twice a year. All risk levels 1, 2, and 3 are inspected 1 time a year or more if deemed necessary, like by complaints. Right now, we have a total of 535 retail food licenses. Another thing we also do is public recreational bathing facility inspections. We have 31 of those in the town. And thanks to the board passing ordinance number 24012 for reinspection fees for public recreational bathing facilities, and also the passing of ordinance 24014 on restrictions for renting of private pools and spas at residential dwellings. It's also a Simply ordinance. We also have youth camps that we go out to, which is coming up, along with our pools. We have 13 youth camps that we go out and inspect prior to the children going there to make sure everything's up and running correctly. Currently, we have 3 body art establishments in Hamilton Township, 6 animal facilities, approximately about 544 septic systems. We're also involved in that with plan review, and if a septic fails or a new home goes in and they're on septic, no public sewer available. We also look over private well testing at the water results for when someone is selling their home and the new buyers are coming in, just to make sure that their well water is within standards. We also do massage inspections. That's under our Hamilton Township ordinance. We have 10 of those currently. Right now, we have approximately 26 mobile food units that have been licensed and already 20 temporary events. And this is just the beginning of the season, so we'll get plenty more of that. We also do have to make court appearances for establishments that are in compliance with the state and local ordinances. We also get dispatched at 24/7, any time of the day or night, by police or the fire department for either an incident in a restaurant, a fire, power outage, whatever they deem necessary and would like a health inspector. We also do public health nuisance complaints, such as a big one we seem to have is rodents and insect complaints, poison ivy complaints, bee complaints,
sewage on the ground, improper disposal of waste. Also, Eric is going to be talking about environmental investigations at residents' property when their child has an elevated blood lead level. Also, we kind of do a little bit of everything. We do what's necessary and as needed. So we also help support the public health nurses during their flu clinics or any kind of public health emergencies such as COVID, H1N1, anthrax, hepatitis A outbreak. And we provide support for the Hamilton Township Animal Shelter at
Lisa,
their rabies clinic.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry, sir. Did you get prior permission to record tonight's meeting?
Oh, maybe he wasn't.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sorry. Okay. I apologize. No, that's fine. No, I
He
apologize.
thought, maybe you were recording, he thought, that's all.
Okay. I couldn't see him either. Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Continue.
Sure. And also, we do also during public health emergencies like COVID, H1N1, we also coordinate with other municipalities to support, provide support at mass vaccination pods.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Man, I never realized 544 septic.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Fulwich, as Dr. Fitzgerald.
Keep it. Yeah, Eric, you mind just speaking into the microphone a little bit? Thank you.
Better?
Perfect. Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
You bet. As alluded to, one of the other things that we do that's by law required by every town is conducting environmental interventions on residential dwellings where there's a child who tests for elevated blood lead levels. By law, children need to get tested once at the age of 12 months, and another time at the age of 24 months by their doctor or physician for blood in their blood. I apologize. And what that typically involves is they go to the doctors, they get their blood drawn intravenously, and then they get sent out through the communicable disease reporting system that's kind of used for other things that the nurses may follow up on as well. When there's notification that a child does have elevated levels of lead in their blood, I do apologize, it prompts a response from us. And the type of response varies on the levels. Current New Jersey standards require that we at least do an educational visit by our public health nursing staff when they have 5 micrograms per deciliter to 9 micrograms per deciliter of lead in their blood, and it does require retest. Anything above that, so 10 or above, requires us to go out there immediately and follow up. So what we do is we work, as I mentioned, with the public health nurses to try and figure out where the lead in the dwelling is coming from, whether it's lead-based paint, maybe it's a consumer product, whether it's lead-based dust, or because typically a lot of times for children, if they're crawling on their hands and knees and there's dust on the floor, they're putting fingers in their mouth. Through ingestion is the number one way to do it. So part of that is education, so making sure the parents are proper cleaning, where they can maybe find lead in their home, certain other hazards such as imported food or spices or things along those lines. And then we also try and talk to the parents about maybe they're bringing it home from their occupation. So let's say...
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
How are you knocking on doors?
I apologize. So we get notified whenever the child goes to the doctor, they get their blood drawn, the laboratory submits it to the state through the CDRSS.
That's okay.
Yeah, and then we get it. So kind of like if there was a foodborne illness or something like that, for someone maybe has salmonella, the nurse would get notified and prompt that response.
Okay.
So we do adequate follow-up within the state, within the timeline issued by the state. So we discuss these things with the parents, provide as much education with maybe something they can do. If there's an occupation, for example, let's say they're an auto mechanic, and it's on their clothing, they may not realize, hey, they have lead dust on their clothing. They give their kid, a hug when they come to their door. It's ingestion through that way. But the other big portion that we do, like I said, is testing of the home. So we have devices that we are trained in using called XRF, analyzers, where basically it determines how much lead is in the paint in your walls, floors, ceilings, certain components of the homes. And like I mentioned also too, we do dust wipe sampling. So we'll take your horizontal surfaces such as your floors, windowsills, areas where a child can very easily reach and maybe ingest dust through that way. And then we send it off to a certified laboratory. A big part of that too is kind of following up with the parent or guardian and making sure that their child is, 1, getting adequately tested, 2, removing those hazards from the home. And where we also kind of come into play is making sure that the homeowner of the dwelling gets those violations abated. So if we know that there's a lead-based paint hazard in the home, the owner gets a notification of it, advising that they have to have someone who is recognized by the NJDCA to conduct that work. You just can't hire a construction worker or someone who's a bare-bone handyman to do that, because you may inadvertently cause more of a lead-based paint hazard in a home by doing that. In accordance with state guidance, we also oversee somewhat the abatement process, so when they fix it, so they submit to us basically a plan or outline how they're going to take care of that. And we review it, send it over to our construction office to make sure that they get the proper permitting, and make sure they also get the notification sent out to the DCA as well that they're going to be doing that work there. We do multiple, basically, inspections on site during that process to make sure that they're applying to the appropriate codes through construction, as well as NJAC 851, which is basically our code saying we have to go out and investigate these. Upon those abatements, we review the results of all the cleaning and everything along those lines that they send to the lab to make sure that everything is squared away and that the child can safely continue to reside in that residence. Some of the other things that we do, and some of the things like you may have seen in the news, the Wanabana applesauce recall, because they found elevated levels of lead in that. The New Jersey Department of Health have issued guidance saying that we have to go out to certain stores where that applesauce has been identified. We basically make sure that it's been recalled and pulled off the shelf so it's no longer available. We also make sure we disperse any other education material that is required by the NJDOH pertaining to elevated blood lead levels, and reaching out to guardians who may have had children who have been impacted in the past by elevated blood lead levels or maybe in risk of doing so in the future. Part of this, too, is continuing ongoing education with this. So Lisa Surtees, our chief REHS, myself, the senior REHS, Kelly Thomas, and our other REHS, Randy Donovan, all have to be certified lead inspector risk assessors through the state, which means that we take the necessary requirements and take multiple rounds of testing to ensure that we are knowledgeable of the code prior to going out on site and conducting these investigations. Every 2 years, we are required to renew these licenses through a refresher course, which we actually are due up for this upcoming year, which multiple of us are going out at the end of April, to make sure we take that refresher course to maintain our license so we can continue to provide these services. Down the road, there may be a chance that the New Jersey Department of Health adopts newer CDC guidances as that comes along the way, and we make sure that we will properly enforce those regulations and follow up appropriately as required.
Eric, how many cases do we usually experience in a given year do we have any ballpark figure on what that would look like?
Between 12 and 20. While
Okay.
It isn't an overabundance, it is, frequent enough where we do have to make sure we make ourselves readily available for those.
Okay, thank you.
Eric, when you find a case that a home, has a lead problem, is there a time frame when the homeowner has to respond as far as what course of action they're going to take to remediate it?
Yes, there is. So within 30 days, the homeowner needs to submit what's called a scope of work. So basically, a plan of action, how they're going to tackle it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have within 45 days to secure funding. Now, sometimes these homeowners, they do need to secure extra funding because unfortunately, lead abatement work is very expensive. Even, pre-inflation and all that, it's very expensive to properly do it because you also need to make sure that people who are doing it are certified in lead abatement work. And that licensing causes, if I'm not mistaken, similar things where you have to make sure you keep up with it and proper certification through the state. And then we follow up to make sure all that has been addressed. And during the abatement process as well, depending on the extensive nature of it, the family may need to be temporarily relocated, which is upon the homeowner to make those adjustments accordingly.
Are there programs out there for assistance with a family that might lower incomes, right? Assistance as far as financial assistance through the state that they can apply for?
There are one or two. One of them I'm aware of is through ILS.
Isles. Yeah.
That's the one that primarily when people do need some sort of economic assistance, they do file it through ILS, and they have to submit the paperwork and get approved and everything along those lines. And a lot of times when that does happen, ILS will reach out to me directly, and they will say, hey, we're going to this address. We'll touch base, we'll let you know how it goes, that kind of thing. So it's all on the same page. We do keep in touch with the lead abatement contractors throughout the process as well. Like, hey, what's the tentative start date? Is there any changes? If there's any issues with the scope of work, let us know to make sure everything gets done accordingly.
Is lead abatement testing done on every sale of a home or purchase of a home?
By law, there is a 10-day disclosure which the homeowner can basically, it's in the law saying, hey, you can either, one, test for lead if like I'm buying a property. I could either make sure, one, I test for lead within 10 days or get it, signed up, or two, if the homeowner's aware of it, they should make the new seller aware of it. But it's more so right now enforced in multifamily dwellings, but that's through the Department of Community Affairs.
Okay. Isn't there like late 70s, early 80s when they, let people, I might be off on that date, but I'm just thinking, I thought I heard that date before.
Pretty close, actually, 1978. 1978 was when the use of lead-based paste in residential dwellings was completely outlawed. So there's a lot of homes prior to that had that. Also, too, according to the code, if a home is built after 1978, the environmental intervention would basically consist of a lead hazard assessment, which is basically asking questions about maybe it's a consumer product, maybe it's a spice that a family brought home from another country that is lined with lead, or maybe it's like a ceramic pot that's lined with a certain glaze. And we have a consumer product analyzer that can check all those things as well. If it's something like a food or a spice, we do send it off to the lab just to kind of double check to make sure, yes, it does, no, it doesn't.
Okay.
But we can at least do some of those preliminary testing, on site or even back to the health department to collect samples.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric.
No, thank you all very much for your time. I do appreciate
the
it.
report, and we all do.
And one thing with the lead program is we do have our childhood lead grant from the State Health Department, which offsets a lot of, actually all the costs associated with childhood lead program. And we are actually able to kind of help neighboring municipalities as well. So that's one of we have two XRFs, one that was privately bought with township dollars, and then another one that we bought through the grant. So we're able to loan that out to other municipalities when they have lead interventions that they have to do. And then we also help them with when they have to do dust wipe samples and stuff. They give them to us, and then we send them off to the lab, and we charge the grant that way as well, which is a nice benefit to have for the neighboring municipalities. All right, so on to the animal shelter. At the shelter, our staff are busy ensuring that all animals in the township's care have a healthy and safe living environment. Each month, we post an update on the year-to-date statistics for the shelter on our website, hamiltonnj.com/animal shelter. It's important to remember that 7 days a week, including holidays, staff are at the shelter making sure that the animals have water, food, a clean habitat, and medication as needed. Just the bare minimum amount of care for each animal takes about 15 minutes per animal. Continues to be a very challenging environment, not only for Hamilton Township Animal Shelter, but also shelters and rescue organizations across the country who have consistently been over capacity for weeks and or months and struggle to find homes for animals in their care. Even in this difficult environment, we've been able to maintain our no-kill shelter status and have a live release rate of 92.8% so far in 2024. We have had a total of 5 medical euthanasias, 1 dog, 4 cats, and 1 behavior-related euthanasia in 1 dog. The shelter continues to surpass the benchmark of 90% live release and is still considered a no-kill shelter where no animal is euthanized for space or time limits. But the shelter desperately needs more dogs to see successful outcomes, whether to their forever home or to another organization. We have been consistently over capacity for an extended period of time, which limits what we can do for the animals and creates a stressful environment, not only for the animals, but also for the staff. We have many great animals at the shelter who would be lovely companions, but we also have many challenging animals who have bite histories, people histories, whether that they can't be, introduced to strangers too quickly, or they can't be with children, dog aggression, medical issues, or they just need somebody who is an experienced dog owner. We need more partners who are willing to assist us in finding alternative homes for the animals in our care. Without that, we're stuck in limbo at this point because we are not seeing adoption applications and we're not really adopting out dogs at this point. As I mentioned earlier, we continue to see an increase in the number of dog licenses issued. To date, we've issued over 3,100 licenses, and I encourage all unlicensed dog owners to not wait and to apply for their license this month. We will begin issuing formal notices of violation and summonses in May. This is consistent with also our retail food licenses. So we give the grace period of the first few months, and then we start legal action in May, and our summonses do require a court appearance. Thank you again for allowing me to give you an overview of the hard work the dedicated team at the division has completed since the last board meeting. I am available to answer any questions you might have.
One question, Chris. I know we've been talking about and hearing about it, that we have an abundance of animals at the shelter currently. Are we planning, I know in the past, haven't we done like a day of action type of thing where people come in where we're pushing, not pushing, but trying to promote adoptions? I know we do it on a regular basis, but I know we've had some different events in the past.
So we have been partnering with the WBCB, the radio station, just to do kind of, it seems about quarterly. We've done it twice so far, but I think it'll be kind of quarterly moving forward, where they do a live recording at the station just to kind of highlight what's going on. And we bring out adoptable animals. And that's something that's both on air, and then also they live stream it as well, videotaping. We had just did in the fall, our Fall in Love with the Animal Shelter event, where we kind of have an open house. And then usually in the summer, we also partner with the greater Clear the Shelters event and highlight, along with everybody else, the kind of, the animals in the shelter. We have been doing more advertising. We're trying to keep up more with making sure that the animals posted on the website have up-to-date photos. We're working with the mayor's office to make sure that those photos are taken on a more regular basis, more routine basis, and updated. But we're open to other ideas as well. We haven't really done any off-site events. One of the things that I've talked with the staff at the shelter is now that we're doing these wellness walks, especially at the Vets Park or other parks where it might be the weather's nice, and we have dogs that are available that can go out, is bringing dogs to those events as well to just kind of, get the dogs out of the shelter for a little bit, but also to hopefully introduce them to other folks, whether they be in the park, walking with us. And that'd also be a great opportunity for volunteers too, if they wanted to kind of foster for a day, which is a program that we have, and take one of the dogs for a walk.
One other question I have, and I'll leave it, some of our colleagues up here might have some too, but what's the condition, how's the kennels themselves? I know we've recently sealed the floorings of the kennels a couple years ago. How's the paint? I mean, are we in need of upgrades to the kennels themselves?
So it's funny, actually, we just met with the second contractor today. Lisa and I did, and I do have to thank Lisa because she's been helping spearhead this. They've been breaking down, and they do need to be resealed. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The new side of the kennel is in decent shape, but the old side is deteriorating pretty quickly. But we have 2 quotes now. So we are hoping within the next couple months to get that project started, but that will be a bigger, we have to do logistically, we have to move and find a house for all 20 animals to move because they do need that whole section emptied out all at once. So that is something that we're going to have to work with one of our, the private kennel facilities to see if they can hold the dogs for a couple days while they do the work, sand, it gets sealed, cures, and then the dogs can go back in, and then we would do the other side as well.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
That's a capital.
And that's something that we had in capital 2 years ago, but we have remaining money, and then the balance will be paid with grant dollars.
Okay, good. That was my question.
Yeah.
Good. Something else that was, something else that I think was on capital last year was the generator. Did we get that yet?
So that is Public Works, but they have started that. They've cleared out behind where the cooler is, that's kind of at the end of the driveway right there behind it, and kind of to the left, they've started clearing out and prepping the work. So that will be something, I guess, imminently that they'll be starting installing that project.
Did they give you a timeline on that, or?
No, but they've already started the clearing, and they've brought down the.
But obviously they have the generator, so it's prepping the pads and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good.
You okay if I keep going?
Yeah.
Just
Go ahead.
I have a couple easy questions. You mentioned the adoptions. I know we're trying to clear the shelter, right? I know we're overpopulated. It's a problem, I think, everywhere. You mentioned that we're reaching out. Like, do we send out like weekly emails? Do we send out all the dogs? Are we getting enough traction that way, or is there something that we can help with? Or
So, I mean, I will take any help possible. So if there's any leads that anybody has as far as open space and another rescue, or there's another rescue partner that we're not linked in with, I would encourage, to reach out to our shelter manager to make that connection, or to me or Kathy, and then we can follow up on it. We have been pushing a little bit more. I can't say that it's been as frequently as I would like, just due to time constraints, but we have been posting kind of more in-depth kind of information on like certain dogs like each week. So we kind of highlighting one specific and doing kind of a deeper dive on social media of that dog, just to kind of bring kind of more attention to that for the week, and hopefully it gains traction. We've had a few that have gotten a number of or a fair amount of kind of likes and interactions from those social media posts, but we do need to follow up and continue more with the push to rescue organizations.
Is doing the social media or the email stuff something that we can use volunteers for, or is that beyond their scope?
I would prefer that would stay in-house.
Pat, can I say, I just want to follow up on your question real fast. Is the the employee that we're bringing on this year, or have brought on, could that individual serve to assist some of the that administrative function?
Right now, I mean, I need attendance to be attendance, and
Okay.
And animal control officers to be
Do
animal
their
control
job.
officers, but they do fill in. So I will say that I have a couple attendants who they do well with the kind of interaction and working with the public, and I'm not going to stop that as long as the basics are being taken care of. But that's part of their job, is also to show the animals and working with the public and calling potential adopters, and we do have the attendants do that as well.
Go ahead, Councilman. Sorry.
So I know there was, I get emails a lot frequently. People know I'm a dog person and they like to send me stuff.
Yeah.
There was a dog that was injured because of a latch on a gate. Was that gate fixed?
It should be, yes. I will have to double check, but I'm pretty sure that was fixed.
I was told the dog was injured. Maybe the latch wasn't working properly.
There's the dogs are, they're constantly pushing up and against the kennel, and what happens is sometimes I don't know the specific words, but the latch will actually just bend. It's not like it breaks, it just comes loose, and they're able to push the actual gate open, and that's what that.
Some of those dogs, I can imagine, are pretty strong.
And that's what happened, and the one dog did escape, and they fought through the fence. There was, other than superficial injuries, there was, to my knowledge, there was no permanent injuries in regards to that.
Anything else that we can help with the adoptions? I know it's a problem, and I know I keep asking, but
yeah, we have a number of like really, really nice dogs. It would be even if they found another organization to go to. I know everyone's struggling, but I think just getting the word out and getting people in, or getting other organizations to assist, that's the biggest ask right now, because we can't just, we literally have no space. If you guys, and I encourage you, stop by and see, we have dogs in the hallways. They're in crates, and crated dogs have to be walked multiple times a day, obviously, but by law, and also just, for welfare reasons as well. So, it's not sustainable. So there needs to be outcomes, period, somehow.
Are we still using like the pet finder and?
Yeah, I think it got
websites?
bought out. It's going by a different name, but yeah,
Oh,
we're
okay.
still using the online system, and everything's being posted up
people
there.
got dogs during COVID and turned them in because they were home.
This is still like sort of the remnants of COVID.
Yeah, I think it's COVID. It's inflation. It's expensive to own a pet right now. It's expensive for everything. But vet costs have gone up, and just food and everything has gone up. So if you're struggling, unfortunately, it's, I think a lot of our strays are kind of our reality, just owner surrenders. And, if we try our best to do due diligence, and if it really is someone's animal, we have to say no, but then sometimes we end up, an hour later, we get a call that there's a loose dog, and then now we're trying to find that person, or the dog just ends up with us in general. Dogs that are found in another municipality and they end up at our shelter, we try to work with them as much as possible to get those dogs back into the proper shelter that they belong to, but sometimes that also doesn't happen because they're facing the same situation as well. But for the most part, we have their Hamilton dogs.
How many volunteers do we actually have that are there participating?
I have it in.
Rough estimate, it's not, I don't need an exact number.
So I have 68 as right now.
And how
And
many of
then it's,
those, how many of those are on like a regular basis, or is it not?
I would say, from what I see, probably 20. Steve, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but I have a better.
Steve, Steve, can you go? I'm sorry.
I can read.
I always see what's in the dog walk as well when I'm there. It's the same 4 or 5 regular names.
Yeah. And then we also have like cat volunteers and everything too. But yeah, some work is up 10, 20 or something like that. Yeah. Obviously, we have more frequent flyers who are there much more often, but it's usually the same folks that I see when I'm over there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. So foster would be another. So if there are, if somebody has room, they don't want to make the permanent, commitment, then that's also another option where we would provide the food, cover the medical costs. They just would have to provide the home and loving environment, and that's also something that we would also greatly appreciate. Lisa is our bunny whisperer, and she has 2 of our bunnies in foster right now. One is spends part-time at the health department. We're a fan.
Litter trained?
It is actually litter box. He's a really good boy.
So if we were
He's very
trying,
cute too.
if we were trying to do a big social media push, is there a way, I know that sometimes the advertisements you have to pay for, but even if there's a fee, is there a way that we can schedule them? Because you also could target certain groups, certain distances. Are we allowed to do that?
We've done a little bit of advertising with like Facebook. It's probably something that we need to explore a little bit more. I know the township does some advertising through like Facebook and everything else like that. We've been hitting mostly like community news and the newspapers and the community papers mostly. It's what we've been targeting, but it's something we have in the budget that we just have to work to get more kind of the online advertising going.
Yeah.
And we can work with the mayor's office on that.
I think that's a good suggestion.
Oh yeah, and then we also got
reads
stickers made, and we're working with Kate Kane to go out to kind of, that way they can put stickers on the different to-go and delivery boxes, delivery bags, just kind of like just something else, just to get more eyes that on the fact that the shelter's there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Chris, is this as it pertains to the accreditation, is this the last step?
We're in the home run. So then, so right now we're all, it's across the board, and which is great because we have buy-in from the staff, is really just finalizing all the documents, going through the different deliverables and trying to find what best example. And then what Veronica is doing right now is then we have the example. So maybe, and the annual report is one thing that we have to do, and then she'd have to find the specific, let's say it's, page 23, highlight that, then put it in a form and, write how that meets the measure. And it's also found on the examples, page 23, it's highlighted, and that we have to do for all 144 different documentation that we have to do. That way, when the reviewers come, they look at the form, they can know that, all right, this is what I need to look for, and then move on to the next one. Does it meet it? Does it not meet it? And go.
So is it 2025 would be our goal?
It's October 25th.
This year.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So our plan hopefully is by the end of September to have everything submitted and done with, but our absolute deadline is October 25th.
That'll be amazing. All right. Any other questions?
I just had a quick question. I know we got a little more information about the delay between the time that someone applies for a dog license and then is, I guess, like billed for it.
Yeah.
Is that characteristic of the computer program, or is it that we have to review the information on the license first before we can charge?
Yeah, it's
for
it's both. So so we take just to kind of backtrack for everyone, we take both in-person, mail, and online applications for dog licensing. The priority ends up being in person because the person's obviously there, and we work and we process everything right there on the spot, and then mail because we really need to turn over those cash funds, the checks, and the cash that comes in on the mail, so it's not just sitting there, so they tend to take priority. So then it kind of pushes back the online module, and I only have one full-time person that's dedicated to it, and we had some staff turnover at the end of the year, so the other clerical staff that were more familiar with it weren't there, and we had to train some new people, so that kind of slowed us down a lot. But we're trying to get better and making sure that they're working from the bottom up and not necessarily from the top down, which I think unfortunately was also happening in the system. So it was just kind of flipping the sort button and working from the top down, so that way to hopefully kind of reduce that lag time between time process to submit payment. But if they're also missing stuff, if they're missing their rabies or their rabies is expired, that will also push out that that request for payment, because everything has to be correct and valid for us to then move forward for payment.
So that's why you can't just apply,
Yes, you can't
pay.
just apply and pay, because otherwise we'd be chasing people for documentation. And that's the same
Gotcha.
process that we use for our business, our retail food as well. We review everything, approve the application, then submit for payment. But then the people then also need to actually pay, because we also have a lot of people who we submit for payment and then they just sit on the payment and they don't, whether they miss it, they forget about it. So it takes a couple reminders for them people to then click the link.
Okay, thanks, that's good information.
Any other questions?
No, good.
Thank you, Fred.
Well, Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you and your team, Lisa. Thank you for being here, Eric. It helped us understand a little bit more of the ongoing daily activities of the Environmental Health Office. And Kathy, as always, thank you for being so thorough in your report. I appreciate all of you being here.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are free to go. No. So, can I have a motion to adjourn as the Board of Health and reconvene as our council body?
I'll make a motion.
Second. Okay. Yeah, I'll second.
Roll call?
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen? Mr. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes. Okay. That brings us to communications.
Communication 1 is a receipt of documentation to amend the ABC license 1133310 for Rainy Hospitality LLC, adding their trade name as Rainy Restaurant Lounge and Bar, and also to activate said license.
Can I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes. Thank
For
you.
your
Thank you.
consideration, we have consent agenda items CA1 to CA18.
So before we get into the consent agenda, I just want to give a brief overview. We have our annual cash management plan for 2024. That's on as a resolution. This would, we also have a resolution that increases to 60% our line items in the temporary budget. We have for consideration the appointment of Anthony Radis as our alternate public defender. We have a slight 10,000 increase for the examination scope of work involved with the potential redevelopment area in Hamilton from the Alimo Group. There is supplemental Green Acres funding of over $1 million that we, for previous open space purchases that we have been successful in obtaining. That's also a resolution on for this evening. In addition, I'm happy to see the purchase of a generator for the senior center, which is included this evening, which will be covered through a grant via the County of Mercer Community Investment Initiative, which was originally ARP funding, American Rescue Plan funding. There are also refunds, tax overpayments on our agenda. And finally, we have the Isaac Pearson House, an application that's going forward. Hopefully we're successful. That would make some important improvements to that home, historical home. So any questions from my council colleagues regarding the consent agenda?
No questions?
No questions.
Okay. Any questions from the public regarding the consent agenda? Yes, Janice.
Janice Clark, 432 Trinity Avenue, Cornell Heights. CA6, what are you doing with the firefighters? What's the agreement between the township and the firefighters? I thought that was all settled or whatever.
So there's ongoing negotiations that are currently happening for a longer-term agreement, but this is necessary language that needed to be added for the current arrangement that we have and going forward, correct?
Correct. So right now, we're in the status of an expired contract, so we've been negotiating with them because it expired at the end of 2023. So we'll continue negotiating with them. We're making good progress. But there was one operational issue that we really felt like we had to address now. When you're in between contracts, you sort of act on, you keep acting on what the other provisions in the contract were in the expired contract. Not every item, but most items in there. So this is basically doing a little bit of a reorganization for two of the captains to be able to assist in the operations and hopefully reduce some overtime there. So, and they've all agreed to it, and we bring it to the council so that they can do a separate agreement outside of the collective bargaining agreement. That'll become part of that collective bargaining agreement when we agree on everything else. Does that make sense?
Once we finalize
It's
it.
all unified for everybody.
Oh,
It was
yes.
approved.
Oh,
Right
yes.
there.
That's done,
Yep.
finished
Oh, yeah.
forever.
Yes.
Yep.
The promotion coming out of it, they'll be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And overall, I think it saves us.
Well,
So-
we have, how many captains do we have?
Oh, boy.
Can't think of captains like a police department. It's different. The ranks are different.
My pen just popped apart. It's a flying object. Almost got you.
You have to think of it differently.
Oh,
Their titles are different. So you would think of a captain as a higher position in the police department. In the fire
Right.
department, it's only the second level.
oh, really?
So
It's a
different.
supervisory position,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and they're
Like
on
on the
each
ground floor.
platoon and each shift, so, yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. We have quite a few.
Because it used to be just a captain in each, house, and then they were the boss.
Yeah, I don't know.
But not anymore. Okay,
No.
thank you.
Thanks, Janice.
Thank you, Janice.
You want that piece?
Thanks.
Anyone else from the public wishing to comment?
Almost took out an eye.
Seeing no further comments from the public, can I have a motion to close it?
Council President, I'll make a motion to close the public comment on consent agenda and move on consent agenda items CA1 through CA18.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Ordinance 121-017 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Part 2, General Legislation, Chapter 362, Property Maintenance, Section 362-10, abatement of violations regarding grass, weed, brush, or other debris recovery of cost side of township. This is second reading and public hearing.
The way I read this, just so everyone's aware, is that this just shortens the time frame for, I believe, solely commercial properties, correct? From 10 days to 5 days after they receive a notice of the violation to respond. That was the one change that I noticed on that ordinance. Anyone from council wishing to comment?
Just a quick question. Am I eligible to vote on that? I wasn't I think this came up on the first reading of the last meeting. Was it? I'm still able to vote on it. I just want to make sure before you call the roll.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this ordinance? Seeing none?
I'll make a motion to close the public comment portion and move ordinance 1-24017 on second reading.
I'll second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Viera?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 4-0. Ordinance 124-018 is an ordinance amending and supplementing the code of the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey, Chapter 485, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Parking, section 485-19, handicap parking. This is establishing spaces for 29 McClellan Avenue and 110 Tyndall Avenue. First reading and introduction.
Council President, I'll move ordinance number 1 on 24-018 on first reading and introduction.
Second motion.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Reparo?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Whalen?
Yes.
Mr. Carabelli?
Yes.
Passes 4-0.
Okay, that brings us to comments from the public. Okay, we have Rocco. Rocco Sharapa.
Good evening. My name is Rocco Sharapa. I live at 12 Christopher Drive in Yarville. I was here at the last meeting on April 2nd about my neighbor, rainwater is going into my yard. He recently put a pool in, and he put in, the grading's too high and the concrete's too high, and all his rainwater goes into my yard. Since then, I put a drain in, which takes my water from my downspouts, and there's a drain by his fence, and my yard still gets full of water. I brought some pictures if anybody wants to see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I was just wondering, because last time I was here, they said that someone would be looking into it, maybe getting back to me. And I was just wondering, you know, where we stand right now.
Kathy,
Is this the back of your yard by Broad Street or the front?
That's inside my yard.
Is that
It's
the back by Broad Street?
Yes,
So Broad Street's on the other side of that fence?
yes.
So when we spoke to the professionals right in front of where that mulch is, the professionals did tell us, well, they told me, I'm not sure who else spoke to them, but I was very proactive, actually came out to your house the next day.
Did you look and see?
I did. The problem with this picture is,
You see a little bit of the
the
mulch,
mulch and everything that's
Yeah.
holding everything in, right?
but it's not really holding anything in because I actually have a drain out there with a pop-up now, and it's still coming in. It's back pitching because all his water, he has a drain from where he had his downspout moved into his yard.
Okay.
That the little drain that's there for pool water can't handle the rainwater, so that washes back into my yard. And then all the way down, he has where that pipe comes and ends, it doesn't go all the way to Broad Street. So where that ends, it runs into my yard through the fence. And then he actually even has a piece of metal on the side of his fence to block the water from coming into his yard. So, that's been that way pretty much ever since I lived there. I mean, it's probably a little bit higher, but that bike path is actually higher because when he built the yard up in that corner, it should go to through underneath the fence and out the backyard. And he was supposed to grade that down, the township told me. The engineering said they were gonna have him grade it down. He never did it. They gave him like 3 months to do it, and he put a shed there in the meantime, and he just took a little bit of soil away from the fence. Well, I have soil this high or better on my fence, plus the concrete. So there's no place for the water to go. Even if, I mean, you would have to have a pump or something back there to pump it out. And if you watch it, it just flows in the yard and then it actually goes out and comes back in. And the landscaper that's there right now that did the work, he doesn't know how to fix it unless they do something inside his yard.
Okay, so just a couple things. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay. I feel for you because I'm a big proponent of being a good neighbor. Can we find out from our professionals, can we get in writing to all of council? Maybe
That's a great idea.
as to
Yeah.
what the situation is, and maybe if we have to get something for planning as far as what the pitch is supposed to be. Did the pool next door follow the guidelines? I think that's a fair request for all of us.
Just understand it.
Again, that backyard where all that water is, I've never had water in my yard before.
Well, I didn't have water like
Just let
that.
me finish.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I've never had water in my yard before. This past, month, we've had some crazy
Oh,
rains,
yeah.
I mean, days. So I'm gonna kind of give it a pass because in the back part where all the water's supposed to be going, some of it is being stopped by your mulch. Okay?
Well,
What's this, before your time is up?
that's the drain that I had put
In the
in,
front of the yard?
in the front part of the yard.
What's the pit? Where is that going to?
That's going out to Broad Street.
So that's going from the front of the house all the way to the back?
Yeah, it's not really the front, it's the back of my backyard.
It's the front of your backyard?
Yeah, exactly.
So what was the rate of pitch that you did from there to there? Because that's a long distance. Because if it's not the right pitch, the water's not gonna go anywhere either, right? It's gonna sit.
Yeah, but why should I have had to put that in my yard before he had his pool put in?
Not saying you
The
should.
curb, he built, his yard is this much higher than my yard.
That's a problem.
That's a problem. It wouldn't even look right. My fence wasn't there, plus the concrete's under my fence, and all his soil is up and under the fence. I couldn't even replace my fence properly. The only way I could see that being fixed is if I put a retaining wall up, or something to block the water to keep it in his yard. So I don't understand, I understand the way that it looks with the mulch, but that's been that way, I've been in the house almost 30 years. I always had a little bit of mulch back there, I had a swing set back there where that was at. I would get a little bit of water, but this is like a pond, it's like a water retention thing. I mean, it's ridiculous, I can't live this way.
I don't disagree.
And I already had
I would like to hear from.
I got $3,100 invested that I shouldn't had to pay for.
Rocco,
I'm
let's,
using it on my house.
no, I hear you, and I think, I agree with you, and I think Councilman Pipero makes a good suggestion. Let's get advice from our professionals on, you know, what.
Can I just say
what-
one more thing?
Just how about this? You have 2 more minutes. We'll give you at the end. I just want to
Okay.
let someone else, just give me
Go ahead.
a second to get some of our other public to come up and speak, and then I'll call you back up whenever one goes through for the second time.
Okay, that's-
Thank you, Rocco.
I'll have the township engineer send something to all of council, and, and I'll talk to the director of community development too, to see, because somebody should have reached out to Mr. Sharapa, and I thought that they had, but,
Okay.
because I knew that some had gone out to the property and looked at that.
Yeah, because if he put a pool, if the neighbor put a built-in pool in his yard, obviously there must be plans, right? He took
Yes.
out permits for it. There must be plans. Let's see if he altered the
Yeah,
plans
but-
at all too.
Right.
So yes,
seems
and
like a lot of
actually,
concrete.
township officials have been out to the property a number of times, and what I was told verbally, but I will get in writing from you all more specific details that they've complied with everything that was asked of them to do. So, but again, I know some of the details, but I'm not going to go over them all with you all. Then they'll do that, the professionals will do that.
It's not our specialty, that's why.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine either. So, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yes. Just your name and, yes, your name. is fine.
Chris English, I live on 697 Clockner Road. So I park, I have to park in an alley, or we have an alleyway off of Smith Street, which is past Blizz's Tavern. That's where I have to park. There's no parking off street or on street for me. So, and that's a township alley. It's owned by the township.
Okay.
And I've lived there, it's gonna be 9 years in June. And I've been trying like crazy, me and my neighbor Debbie here, to do something, and somebody, to try to get a hold of somebody to try to do something for it. Because what happens is, so the alleyway isn't paved, it's dirt, it's gravel, it's some grass, and when it snows, I've got to shovel it, and it's pretty long. I used to have the guy who owned Blizz's. He used to plow it before he passed away. Nobody else really wants to do it because they're afraid to, do damage their blades. And I've called the township a couple of times for that, and nobody seemed to care. I've called the township a couple of times. I put in the request, how you have put in the work request for the township. I've done that a few times. My neighbor has done it too. She's called, she even went to the township building. People, I guess, say everything is fine, but it's not. And even the last regime before Jeff Martin, I was supposedly, I don't even know if this is true or not, but I guess when somebody goes out from being the mayor or whatever, do they have jobs that they put on the docket that are not finished or never got completed? Supposedly I was on that, but I don't know if that's true or not. But I'm like,
So Chris, just for clarity's sake, this is on Klockner and,
right, so I live on 697 Klockner.
okay.
But where I park is, if you go down Smith Street, there's an
Okay.
alleyway right behind the bar, right behind Bliz's Tavern.
Okay.
And that's where I park. That's my parking spot. But the alleyway itself is township owned. It's not, I don't own it or nobody else owns it. And we've really, I know Hamilton's big. I've lived in Hamilton most of my life, and I understand it's big and everything else. But, and I guess there might have been a few people that have come out there and maybe just take a quick look at it. Oh, it's okay. But here's the thing. It's not, I feel like it really should be paved, because if it was paved, then I could just take my snow blower, and then I could, when it snows, I don't have to bust my butt and shovel the whole thing out. I mean, it's pretty long. So, and
it's accessed off of Smith.
Yeah, access off of Smith.
Right on his house.
Yeah, I see it.
So, and then the other thing is, so even if you didn't pave it, nobody takes care of it. So you get potholes. My neighbor has to put rocks and stuff to fill that in. There's the parts of the grass, she's either mows the lawn or I mow the lawn, or like, it just, for the last 8-9 years, and it's like, even, I'm not saying it's like the biggest priority, but like, even if like Hamilton had like a bigger job and maybe had like blacktop left over to do it, maybe that would be a possibility, because it's not like a big job. It's a job. It's definitely, it's definitely a job. It's not a huge job. But I don't feel like it's like unfair. I mean, I've lived. It's just like, I feel like.
Chris, is this is owned by the township?
Yeah, so township-owned alleys, we are supposed to maintain, so obviously it sounds like we haven't been doing a great job about maintaining it. That happens with some of the alleys, especially if they're a little more remote, or, as you say, a lot of times other things push the priorities down. Right. So, but we've done that before, so I'll make sure that they go out and do a check on that alley, and get it on their list as soon as possible, so that they can, fix it up, fill in some of the holes that there might be there, and do all of that. I like your idea of leftover blacktop, but I have no idea what the size of that job is, so I'll suggest that to them. I don't think there are any plans to pave it at this time, and I don't believe the township plows any alleys either, right, throughout the township when we
But
have
at a minimum, if
snowstorms.
they were to pave it, at least allows.
Right, but it would make it
Maybe,
easier, sure.
Yeah.
Right, it
Sure.
allows me to do
Or to at least fill
I'm
it
like,
in.
I bust my butt all the time, and it's like, I pay taxes. It ain't my alley. If it was my alley.
Understood.
My neighbor's alley, then it's just like, I feel
Okay.
like, you know what I mean?
Point well taken.
Right. Yeah, we'll take a look at it and see what
So do we
needs to
have
be
Chris's
done.
contact information? Can we?
I don't, but can you give
Can
that? I
you
have
give
your
that to-
address down, but I
You're in the
don't.
right place, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You want to just provide her with your, are you through? I think your time's up. Anyway, we'll get you back up if you needed to speak a little bit more, Chris, but, okay. Anyone else wishing to speak from the public? Lisa? I got you next.
I'm not recording. I have almost 4 minutes, so my stopwatch will keep me on time.
Okay.
Before you're like, am I recording? No.
No, it wasn't you.
Okay. No, I know,
Yeah.
but it could be, I'm
Yeah.
playing with my phone. What am I doing it for? I'm taking almost 4 minutes to read what I have, so I have to be quick.
We won't interrupt.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lisa Williams,
Thank you, guys.
Bryan Lane.
Thanks.
I'd like to start with thanking the health officer and shelter manager, sorry they're not here right now, but for taking the time to talk with me last week about the animal control procedures and how they related to a January incident my dog and I were subjected to. On January 12th, there was an incident where a very large dog we have history with popped open the gate, came after me and my dog. The offending owners were not home, and a door was open, resulting in the dog getting into the yard and house at will. Animal control and then police dispatch were called to contact animal control because I got voicemail at the shelter. As of last week, the shelter phone has still not been updated. Animal control responded, closed the gate upon arrival, spoke with the owner through the Ring doorbell camera, and obtained owner's approval to go in the yard and see how the dog was getting out of the house and put the dog in the house. I was present on the sidewalk during this and informed the animal control officer that I would be filing dog running at large charges, and I had video. This is documented on the daily field activities report. I opened the animal control investigation report and received the daily field activities report. An animal control investigation report was not prepared for this incident. I offered the 2024 dog license to see if the dog had a valid rabies vaccine because I knew from a 2023 dog license that the vaccine expired in 2023. Dog licenses weren't due until February 29th, so I wasn't able to get the license. I did get it on April 9th and learned that the dog's rabies vaccine had lapsed for 3 months, and the dog had an expired rabies vaccine on the day of the incident, and the ACO didn't check the status of the rabies vaccine on January the 12th. So I had an unvaccinated dog running at me. This info should have been available to me when I went to court in February. If I had known the dog had an expired rabies vaccine, I would have filed the charges for failure to vaccinate a dog for rabies. If my dog or I got bit, we would have had to get rabies vaccines. My dog, an additional booster, and me, the series of rabies vaccines, because that dog's vaccine expired. If someone got bit by that dog between January 13th and February 29th, in my opinion, the township is exposed from a liability standpoint because it should have been known that the offending dog had an expired rabies vaccine on January 12th. What I learned last week is an investigation report was not prepared because the offending dog didn't make contact with me. Thank you to the driver of the car that blew its horn in an attempt to not hit the dog, and the Amazon driver for helping to give me and my dog time to get away, so we didn't make contact with the dog. I also learned that the rabies vaccine status wasn't checked because we didn't get bit. A check of a dog license system would have shown a 2023 expiration date, and follow-up would have found that the vaccine had expired. You shouldn't have to get hurt for this to be checked and reports to be documented. I've received various animal control incident reports because people have sent them to me on other scenarios. There is an incident report from May of 2023 where a small unleashed dog grabbed the pant leg of someone walking a small dog. Person was not hurt. That got a police response and followed by animal control the next day. There are police and animal control incident reports for that. There is an incident from March 1st where animal control and police responded to a potential neglect situation. ACO, her investigation report confirmed the dog was up to date on shots. This report does not indicate that the dog made contact with or bit anyone, but there is a report and vaccine shots were confirmed. I'm asking that the ACO procedures be modified to require animal control investigation reports and confirmation of rabies vaccine status for all dog running at large incidents reported to animal control where animal control can identify the owner of the dog, including following up on stray reclaims from the shelters for licenses in Hamilton and rabies vaccines for all. 3 minutes, 58 seconds. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So can we investigate some of?
Yeah. So, did you? And you said you met with.
I talked to them.
Oh, you talked to them, and so did they answer some of these questions for you? And at this point, you just want our procedures to be looked at.
Followed up on. So.
Okay.
I asked why was there not an animal control investigation report?
Right.
And I gave the example of the May scenario, and I was told because the dog in January did not make contact with you.
Okay.
We got lucky. I saw it coming. I yelled for the owners. I yelled stop. I knew the dog's name because I've been in court with these people before, so now I know the dog's name. Car coming down the street blew a horn, which startled the dog. The Amazon guy helped. I continue. I have it on video. It's a video will make you sick because it's moving. There's a lot of stuff going on when you're being charged by a dog. I yelled for the dog to stop. Dog's name, go home, go home. My dog knows go home. The dog's all confused. It went to its front yard, looked confused. Poor thing's, I don't feel sorry for it, but I don't want it to get hurt. It's confused. It shouldn't have been able to get out. We shouldn't have been put at risk. It shouldn't have had an expired rabies vaccine. There was a reason for animal control to come out. They came out. They should have checked. Chris said they can't target somebody to check a rabies vaccine. I equate this to if I run a red light and I get pulled over by the police officer for running a red light. He asks for license, registration, insurance. If I can't produce those documents, I get a summons.
Mm-hmm.
How is a dog coming after a human? You go out, you put the dog back in the yard, you close the gate, you put the dog in the house, you close the door. I have video, you didn't ask to see it, I would have shared it. I'll share it with anybody who wants to see it. I was prepared for court. They took a plea bargain. I should have known in court. The judge should have known this dog had no rabies vaccine even on the day of court, which was February 27th. 3 months last rabies vaccine.
Was this dog ever licensed?
It was last year because it filled my property 3 times and I followed up on it.
And has it been renewed this year, license?
License is the email that you were also copied on.
Right, that's what I thought.
The license was issued on February 9th. I
Right.
have to follow up again. What happened is it was applied for on February 29th. The dog was vaccinated for rabies on February 29th, expired November 28th. Now has a 3-year
Right.
rabies vaccine. That's a whole other question I don't understand. They paid for it on April 9th. So the license was issued April 9th. I have the license. I have both of them. It is now licensed, so my point is, somebody should have checked. I should have been known, because I didn't.
Right.
Everybody tells me, file a complaint yourself. I
So,
didn't.
and you were told that it was not checked? Or
I
did
was
somebody
told-
check it and see that it's in January, we're renewing licenses, right? And so some of them are in process. I remember one that you inquired about, it was in process. They had the application, but it hadn't finished the whole process yet, because
That is the one, and what's not
That
in
is
that
the one.
email that
Okay.
you got, and I have considered responding so it is in writing in case that is ever over,
right?
is that the day of the incident, the dog license, the rabies vaccine was expired. The one you're referring to in process is
Right.
this dog.
Okay,
So, incident occurred January 12th. Rabies vaccine expired November 23rd of 2023.
right.
No one checked it. And I asked why? Because I didn't get bit. If I got bit, they would have checked it.
Lisa, I'm sorry. I just want to be fair.
I've been talking at nauseam.
I know,
forever about
I know,
this.
you're going-
This is what I was trying to avoid, is having being exposed to a dog that is not vaccinated for rabies.
So she makes a valid point, right? Use an airport as an example, right? There's 2 planes or 2 vehicles on an airfield. It's called an incursion, right? You may not have hit the plane, but you drove in front of the plane, you made the plane turn. They made her alter her path because the dog charged at her.
Yeah.
When the dog charged at her, why did they not investigate and ask, is the dog licensed? A red flag was thrown up. The dog charged out of the house with nobody home. They should have at least investigated and said, is the dog licensed? That's not targeting. They put the bullseye on their back by letting the dog out of the house.
And that one popped open a gate. There was one early March, popped open a door, came after the dog in the street. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't take much just to run and see if it has a license.
But I
Even if you
thought,
follow
and I
up
was
and
under the
stuff.
impression that they had checked and we were in the licensing process. And
Yeah, I
so
don't know the
because it was in the process, but
we
again,
can talk after if you want me to explain.
yeah, I do.
They were in the 2024 licensing process on the email you're copying.
Right,
This is 2020. The vaccine expired November 28th.
Yeah.
Sorry. The vaccine expired November 28th of 2023, and they did not revaccinate their dog until
Right.
February 29th of 2024.
Right.
They applied for a dog license on February 29th of 2024 and had a vaccine that day. But they did not have a valid vaccine between November
And February.
28th
And
of
the date.
2023
And February.
and February 29th of 2024. The incident occurred on January 12th of 2024.
so I'm just trying to see what's in our processes to compel somebody to renew their rabies vaccination on their animal, and that's through the licensing process for us, because when the license came up, right, we wouldn't have taken the application had they not gotten a renewal,
The
so.
problem is there was an incident, incursion, to use the
Yeah.
comparative
So you
scenario.
like that word, right?
There was an
Yeah,
incident that caused animal control to respond. They didn't check on the status. If I got bit, they would have checked the rabies.
Yeah. No, I agree with your analogy, and like Pat said,
That dog didn't have
that
rabies.
it's easy to just run a check,
Okay.
like they would run a check if we're registered,
She
insured.
never talks on.
Ask the question.
Go for
We
it.
had a rabies clinic the very next day.
Yeah, well, I'm trying. But no, I totally agree with your analogy, that if you were to get pulled over, if something were to draw attention to you, they can easily run that through the system to see, are you registered, are you insured, do you have a license?
This kind of follows up with
Yeah.
what we've been, well, Rick's not here, but me and Rick have been asking, right, for a couple of years. Why can't you just issue a 3-year license, 3-year AB, right? Then there's no more questions. And I don't understand, oh, the computer system doesn't support it, this doesn't support it. I mean, we have a lot of automated things, we have a lot of technology. If you're telling me we can't figure out how to make a rabies license, and a dog license coincide, we have a problem.
Okay, this scenario wouldn't fit that because the dog as of today is only 2 years old. So
When
this
did they
wouldn't
get
fall
the,
in that because last year it only had a 1-year vaccine, and I have questions about a 90-day lapse, but then the second vaccine would be for 3 years. So you couldn't license a
so you
dog.
could do a 1-year and then a 3-year, right? Which is what we asked
It
for.
wouldn't fix this scenario, but right, if it fixes
Right.
other.
I think that's what we've been talking about for a while.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right.
No, you're fine, Lisa.
We need to look into this a little more.
Rocco. The only thing I wanted to say was that, if my neighbor puts, changes in his yard or pool or something like that, why do I have to make changes in my yard? Like, and that's what happened. I had a little bit of water where like normal people, but it's like, water retention pond. Everything's running in my yard. As far as that mulch goes, the pictures and everything, the way it's more deceiving, but that's the way it was always set up. And yeah, maybe from yours you would get a little bit, but it's still at my fence level. If you look at his yard, there's no fence level. My property, my soil's here, his is up this high. So it's definitely, all his water is just running into my yard.
Bottom line is, prior to him having a pool stored in his yard, did you have this problem?
No.
Okay. So we need
I
to
lived there for
look, we need to look into it.
almost
In all
30
fairness,
years. He's been there 3 years.
I could sympathize with you too. If there
Yeah,
was,
it's just, and not only that, it's a health problem.
sure, you got standing water,
Standing water that never dries out.
mosquitoes.
Yeah.
He's a big dog.
Rocco, we have your contact information, right?
You got my license, right?
Yeah. Dog
Brady?
vaccinated and
Yeah.
licensed.
Yeah, that's right. I came down here, and I got my dog license and paid, the girl put it through, got my receipt.
Good.
He's all ready to go.
Thank you.
Come get picked up.
Thank you, Rocco.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want your picture
Thank
back?
you.
Yeah, do you want?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll print you up next time.
No further comments from the public?
3D.
Of Janice.
Oh, Janice, yes. I know, it's not up for debate.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can,
Yeah.
Janice Connick, 432 Trinity Avenue, Cornell Heights. Give you A plus, Mr. Anthony. My
What I did-
girlfriend got her Hamilton toast.
yes, all right, good,
It
good.
came through.
All right, excellent.
And then somebody told me that the house where the municipal building's going, they took down all the trees. I would have never in my wildest dreams thought that house looked like that. I mean, it looked so much smaller, and then I'm thinking, whoa, my goodness gracious, because a friend of always said, you ought to go see that house you were complaining about, I said, okay, and oh my God, that's unbelievable.
Is the house demoed yet? Did the house come down yet?
No.
I have to drive by.
It was still there on Friday.
Okay, I have to look at it.
And now that's gonna be like the entrance to the,
It's just additional space, I think we don't,
Additional space, and actually the entrance will be where you see the current entrance right now. There's an ingress right there, but the main one will be off of,
there's gonna be one off
The
of
other.
Klockner
yes.
and then one off.
And one off White
Whitehorse.
Horse. Yeah.
Yes, the main one is off of White Horse, though.
Yes,
It just,
correct.
it just kind of makes the geographical area landscape a little more, you still have the Exxon station on the corner,
Yeah,
but it kind of
it's nice.
makes it more rectangular,
right, you got it.
gets rid of an eyesore,
It does.
so to speak, that would be
That
right
gives it-
next to the new municipal
It
building.
gives us additional space
Yeah.
too.
But I was just astounded at the size of the thing. But, and then the other thing was, last summer, I had called the township that the drain on my street was loose. And so they came and they replaced it, which was really good. But it's bright orange. I mean, you go down the street and all the drains kind of blend in with the road. This one is orange. I mean, it sticks out like I come down every morning to get my newspaper and go, oh my God.
The storm drain on the curb, you mean? The storm drain on the curb?
On the curb.
Is it rusted?
Yeah.
Well,
Painted
Anything
orange?
like it.
was it,
Is it one of those covers on it to keep the,
No, it has all the holes in it, for the
Right.
water to drain down, and then it has it's on top like this, and then there's the
You need to
opening,
get
and then
some
there's all the little slots for the water to run in there.
that's
which
funny.
part is orange?
The whole thing.
Oh,
Rust-Oleum, though.
The whole thing, it's just, either
Please,
the
Russ.
top especially, because that's the part you see, you don't see the bottom grade.
We said, get
But the
Rust-Oleum
top
out there.
is like,
It's great.
you know, this L shape, it's all orange. Most
Okay.
interesting.
You stand out everywhere you go, that should be nice.
Oh, you're sweet. So I just wondered, could they like paint it or something? Maybe.
Mick, what are you doing this weekend, Pat? Get a little Rust-Oleum.
It's not recorded, is it?
You can take out the
I've
color.
never seen anything like it, because usually you don't even notice the drains, but this one, it's
What are you
there. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Something interesting for Hamilton Township.
I'm gonna ride by, I wanna see it.
I wanna see
too.
it. All right.
It's on an
Okay.
angle across from my house. It's right next to a White House.
Well, if it's orange, I ain't gonna miss it.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you really can't, you know, you can think, oh my God. Okay.
That's right.
Must be rusty.
Yeah. Thank you, Jess. Okay. Council comments. What do we got?
Go ahead.
Ladies first, no?
No.
We're together 3 days in a row. I'm going to keep this real short and say thank you to our health department for showing up. Thank you to our residents, especially our loyal three, for not only showing up, but for your participation in the meeting. We can't see everything, we can't hear everything, and we appreciate you being our ears and eyes. And to the rest of our staff here, it's good to see everybody, and see you soon.
Tomorrow night.
See you in a couple hours.
See you in a couple hours.
Yeah, just off of what Pat just said, I mean, as always, our health officials did a great job with their presentation tonight. We appreciate their preparedness and keeping us informed, along with all our professionals that are here every meeting. And like Pat said about our residents keeping us informed, we appreciate it because, like you said, we can't see everything going on, but we rely on our dynamic three to keep us abreast of what may be happening throughout the township. So with that, I'll see you tomorrow night. Good, Nance.
I don't think I can say anything that hasn't already been said, so I'm going to say ditto. No, in all seriousness, the health department did a great presentation. They do great work, and we're lucky to have every one of them. So I look forward to our new accreditation coming, hopefully at the end of this process. Obviously, they're working very hard for that. And thank you again to you guys for coming each time. And we'll be here tomorrow night if you're not busy. We have one more budget hearing. And other than that, the Azalea Festival's coming up on May 11th. And we haven't had very good luck with that. So let's cross our fingers and,
Yeah. Well, we'll probably do some rain anyway, right? I mean, we haven't had much rain lately, have we?
Yeah, not much. No. With that, though, have a good night. I think tomorrow it's supposed to rain.
Thank you. So our next council meeting is May 7th, which is Tuesday evening at 6:30. We also have our meeting tomorrow night is our last budget workshop with economic development and which is Director Dumont, and then we also have Public Works, which is Chuck Thomas, and then we have council, right, tomorrow evening. So thank you for your participation. Once again, ditto to what Councilman Papero mentioned, and it's been a long week. This is our third round, but we're going to make it through. So thank you all for coming out this evening. We'll see you in May. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.